Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexandra Campbell. I'm the Executive Director of the Reston Historic Trust and Museum. And today we're going to be looking at the 1962 Reston Master Plan for our artifact highlight. Easily one of my favorite artifacts in the collection and so important to Reston's history. So this was put together by founder Robert E. Simon Jr. As well as Whittlesey and Conklin. And so I'm going to be giving an overview of this, showing you the wonderful conceptual drawings in here. But if you want to read the Reston Master Plan, it's available on our website. I'll have a link below so you can read the entire thing. This is really just a fantastic artifact. So it's divided up into three parts here. We have reports and maps, zoning for a residential planned community, and the economic basis for Reston. So it's really covering a very large ground. And before I summarize, I just want to briefly read the beginning because it sets such a groundwork or framework for what they were envisioning. The demands of the modern age require new concepts in the development of new communities. One of the principal goals for Reston is to build a balanced community with facilities and social organization that can help meet the human requirements of our civilization. Reston, comprising of 10 square miles in Fairfax County, Virginia, is designed to house and to the maximum extent possible provide the means of livelihood for 75,000 people by 1980. Modern automated technology, with its shorter workday and shorter work week, brings with it a greater emphasis on the use of leisure. Leisure can be barren and frustrating if unused or misspent, but leisure can be constructive and rewarding to individuals, to families, and to the community. Decisions as to use of leisure inevitably must be personal and individual, but it is far easier to use leisure well if leadership and facilities are available. Reston plans to have both physical facilities and social leadership available to help its citizens employ their leisure. In the recreation areas alone, parks, lakes, golf courses, and tennis courts, riding stables and bicycle paths, archery fields, and countless other outdoor sports grounds are to be provided for every resident. And so the master plan goes on talking about other leisure activities, including a community center, and of course, very happy for us, it includes a museum. And it also talks about how eventually residents would have access to the toll road, that at this time Reston is mostly an area consisting of rolling hills with trees. It talks about the different areas of density, mixed-use development that Reston would have, the clustering of houses, and it even makes recommendations for things like kindergartens, which they say none existed in Fairfax County in 1962. The Reston Master Plan talks about the town center, even though that was not built until 1990. And obviously, not everything worked out the way that they planned it out here in the Reston Master Plan. As you just heard me say, they were planning for 75,000 people by 1980, which didn't quite plan out. I think we were into the 60,000s during the 2010 census, so it'll be interesting to see how the 2020 census turns out there. One of the other things it details out is that there would be 7 village centers, and we ended up only having 5 village centers. But it shows the level of detail in their thought process for getting there. So, for example, the reason they said 7 village centers was because they were imagining that each village center would provide the needs for 10,000 people each. And so if you're imagining 75,000 people by 1980, then 7 village centers are needed to accommodate 75,000 people. And so it also talks about how, today we enjoy 55 miles of trails in Reston. They're talking about the trails in here, but they're also imagining that we're going to be going around in sort of golf cart-like buggies on these trails as well, which, you know, most of us are still using cars today. But just these fun anecdotes about, you know, what they were imagining for the future, you know, with automated technology, that we would have a shorter work week, which didn't really plan out either. But it gave us such a foundation to that emphasis on leisure, giving us the amenities that we have today, so that when we have leisure time, we're very lucky to have all the opportunities that we have. So as I mentioned, I'm going to show you some pictures. This is situating Reston in relationship to Washington, D.C. Reston is here, and the rest of Fairfax County. Most of the images are related to Lake Anne. You can see that here. This is a conceptual drawing. Lake Anne is a man-made lake, so it didn't exist before Reston existed. Another conceptual drawing of Lake Anne. You can see it's fairly close to accurate. You can see the influence from European hill towns, I think, particularly in this image, but you get the sense of the types of housing, Heron House, for example. This is showing the cluster of housing, an example of density. This one specifically states that it's a medium density cluster. Again, another housing development. Very similar to Lake Anne. You've got the curve of the buildings, this open plaza where people are sitting. Love this image, showing all of the trees that you can see from a balcony, but also just having the table set, very mid-century modern feel. The last image here showing again somebody's front door, very close to the Chimney House condos at Lake Anne. So that's it for the images, but I really encourage you to take the time and to fully read the Reston Master Plan. I'll include the link to it. It's just really gives you a sense of how much planning and thought went into Reston's beginnings and how we got to today. I hope you enjoyed today's artifact highlight and join us next week. Thanks for joining us on today's tour behind the scenes at the Reston Historic Trust and Museum. Feel free to continue exploring our collection here on our YouTube Museum from Home playlist or on our website, restonmuseum.org. If you enjoyed today's tour, please consider becoming a member. Now is the perfect time to do so, as our individual membership is just $23 for the entire year. So if you'd like to become a member, please visit restonmuseum.org/membership. Members are vital. Thanks for joining us on today's tour behind the scenes at the Reston Historic Trust and Museum. Feel free to continue exploring our collection.